Marcus wiped the plastered dust from his forehead and stared at the gaping hole in the living room wall. Another mess, another expense, another reminder that buying this rundown Victorian house might have been the worst decision of his life. But it was all he could afford after the divorce. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, sat cross-legged on the paint-stained tarp, sketching in her notebook. She hadn't said much since they moved in 3 weeks ago. The separation had stolen her voice, replaced her giggles with silence. Marcus told himself that time would heal her, that this house, despite its sagging floors and peeling wallpaper, would become their sanctuary. "Dad, what's that?" Lily pointed at the wall cavity. Marcus leaned closer, squinting into the darkness between the wooden studs. Something metallic glinted in the beam of his flashlight. He reached in carefully, his fingers brushing against cool metal. A small tin box. His heart quickened as he pulled it free. The box was old, rusted at the corners, with a faded floral pattern, barely visible under decades of dust. It felt heavier than it looked, like it carried more than just physical. "Wait, what is it?" Lily's curiosity broke through her usual reserve. She stood up, notebook forgotten, and moved closer to her father. Marcus sat on the floor beside her and carefully pried open the lid. Inside, nestled among yellow tissue paper, was a sealed envelope. His breath caught when he saw the writing on the front. "To the little girl who finds this." Lily's eyes widened. "It's for me?" Marcus's hands trembled slightly. Who would leave a letter in a wall? And how could they have known the little girl would find it? The handwriting was elegant, feminine, written with a fountain pen in deep blue ink that had barely faded despite the passing years. "Should we open it?" Lily whispered, as if speaking too loudly might make the magic disappear. Marcus looked at his daughter's face, the first spark of wonder he'd seen there in months, and nodded. He carefully broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The paper was thick, expensive, the kind people don't use anymore. He began to read aloud. "Dear sweet child, if you're reading this, then you found my hiding place. I placed this box in these walls in 1982, on the day my husband told me we were losing our home. I was heartbroken. This house held every memory of our life together. First steps, birthday parties, quiet Sunday mornings. I thought losing it meant losing everything. I hid this box as a time capsule, a piece of my heart to leave behind. I wanted whoever came next to know that this house was loved. But I'm writing this letter to you specifically, the child who'll find it, because I need to tell you something important." Marcus paused, his throat tight. Lily leaned against his shoulder, completely absorbed. Houses are not just wood and nails. They're not just walls and windows. Houses hold stories. They hold tears and laughter. They hold the moments that make us who we are. When we left this house, I thought I was leaving my story behind. But here's what I learned. You don't need a house to keep your story. You carry it with you. We moved into a tiny apartment across town. I cried for weeks. But slowly, something changed. My daughter learned to ride a bike in the parking lot. My husband and I danced in our cramped kitchen. We made new memories. And I realized something profound. Home isn't a place you're trapped in or tied to. Home is what you build, wherever you are. So if you're reading this in difficult times, if your family is struggling, if things feel broken, remember this. Every ending makes room for a new beginning. The cracks let the light in. And sometimes losing what you thought you needed teaches you what truly matters. Be brave, little one. Your story is just beginning. With love from the past, Eleanor Morrison. The room fell silent, except for the old house creaking around them. Marcus felt his eyes burning with tears he didn't know he'd been holding. He looked down at Lily, expecting to see confusion, but instead her face was thoughtful, processing. "Dad," she said quietly, "is that why we moved here? Because our old story ended." Marcus's heart cracked open. His daughter, his perceptive, brilliant daughter, understood. He pulled her close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "Yeah, sweetheart, I think so. Are we making a new story now?" "We are," he whispered. "We absolutely are. Lily nodded against his chest, then pulled back. Can I keep the letter? Of course. She carefully took it from his hands and folded it like it was made of glass. I want to put it in my new room. To remember that houses change, but stories keep going. Marcus watched her walk upstairs, the letter press against her heart, and felt something shift inside him. For 3 months, he'd been drowning in guilt. Guilt for the divorce. Guilt for uprooting Lily. Guilt for bringing her to this broken-down house that needed so much work. But maybe that was the point. Maybe they both needed something broken to fix. Maybe they needed to see that broken things could become beautiful again, that endings could turn into beginnings. He looked back at the hole in the wall, the gap where the box had been hidden for 43 years. Eleanor Morrison had left more than a letter. She'd left hope, sealed in tin and plaster, waiting for exactly the right moment to be discovered. 2 weeks later, Marcus found himself standing in the same spot, but the hole was repaired now. Fresh drywall, new paint. You couldn't tell anything had been hidden there at all. But everything had changed. Lily had started talking more. She'd made a friend at school. She helped him paint her bedroom a soft lavender she'd picked out herself. Every evening, they sat together on the front porch, rickety as it was, and she'd tell him about her day. Real things, feelings, dreams. The house was still a disaster. The kitchen faucet leaked. The back steps were rotting. The roof would need replacing before winter. But when Marcus looked around now, he didn't see problems. He saw possibilities. He saw a story being written. One Saturday morning, while replacing a section of floorboard in the hallway, he found something else. Not hidden in the walls this time, but carved into the wood beneath the old carpet. Letters scratched into the oak by a child's hand. Lucy was here in 1985, Marcus smiled. He called Lily over to show her. She traced the letters with her fingers, then looked up at him with bright eyes. Dad, we should add ours too. Yeah. So whoever comes next knows we were here, that this was our house too. Marcus felt his chest swell with emotion. That's a perfect idea. They found a nail and together, beneath Lucy's inscription, they carefully carved, Marcus and Lily 2025, we found our story here. As they worked, Lily talked about school, about the friend she'd made named Sophie, about how her teacher said she was good at writing. Marcus listened, really listened, and realized that Eleanor Morrison had been right. The cracks were letting the light in. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Marcus sat alone in the living room. The house settled around him, with its old house sounds, creaks and sighs, the whisper wind through gaps he'd eventually seal. He thought about his ex-wife, about the marriage that had crumbled despite his best efforts, about the guilt he'd carried, the belief that he'd failed. But maybe failure was just another word for transition. Maybe what looked like an ending was really just a plot twist. He pulled out his phone and opened his notes app. For the first time in years, he started writing, not a to-do list or a budget calculation, but actual words, thoughts, feelings, a letter to himself, maybe, or to Lily for when she was older, or to the next person who would live in this house and find traces of their life hidden in its bones. Dear future, I came to this house broken. I thought fixing it would fix me. But here's what I'm learning. We don't fix houses to fix ourselves. We fix houses to learn that fixing is possible. That broken isn't the end of the story. It's just a chapter. My daughter found a letter in a wall, and that letter found us. It reminded us that every house is held. Other lives, other struggles, other victories. We're not the first to feel lost here, and we won't be the last. But we're part of a chain, a story that stretches backward and forward, connecting us to people we'll never meet, but who understand exactly what we're going through. Thank you, Eleanor Morrison. Thank you for hiding your hope where we could find it. Marcus saved the note and set his phone aside. The house creaked again, and this time it sounded almost like approval. But the next morning brought a discovery that would change everything Marcus thought he understood about the house and the woman who'd left the letter. He was working the attic, finally tackling the nightmare of water damage and missing insulation. The Space was cramped, hot, and filled with cobwebs. He was about to give up for the day when his foot went through a soft section of the floor. "Damn it," he muttered, pulling his leg free. But as he shone his flashlight into the hole, he saw it. Another box, larger this time. A wooden chest, old and ornate, hidden beneath a false board. His pulse quickened. Lightning doesn't strike twice, he thought. But apparently in this house, it did. He carefully widened the hole and pulled the chest free. It was heavier than the tin box, substantial. The wood was walnut, beautiful even under the dust, with brass corners and a small brass lock that had long since broken. Marcus carried it downstairs and called for Lily. She came running, still in her pajamas, eyes wide. Another one? Another one. They sat together on the living room floor, and Marcus opened the chest. Inside was a treasure trove. Old. Photographs, letters tied with ribbon, a wedding invitation, a baby's christening gown, a man's pocket watch, and a leather journal. Lily reached for the photographs first. Black and white images of a young couple, smiling on a porch that Marcus recognized. It was his house, but decades younger, with fresh paint and flowers in the window boxes. "Is that Eleanor?" Lily asked. Marcus picked up the wedding invitation. Eleanor Rose Hart and James Morrison, June 14th, 1965. Yes, that's her. They spent the morning going through the contents, piecing together a life. Eleanor and James had lived here for 17 years. They'd had 2 children, Lucy and Daniel. The photographs showed birthday parties, Christmas mornings, a tire swing hanging from the oak tree that was no longer in the backyard. But it was a journal that held a real story. Marcus opened it carefully. The first entry was dated January 1st, 1965, our first day in our forever home. He skipped forward, reading entries here and there. Eleanor wrote about learning to garden, about James, getting a promotion, about Lucy's first day of school, about Daniel breaking his arm falling off his bike. Ordinary life, preserved in ink. Then the entries changed. Marcus found a one dated March 1982. James told me today, "The bank is taking the house." I can barely write these words. How do you lose? Forever? How do you pack up 17 years into boxes? The children are devastated. Lucy cried all night. I don't know how to be strong for them when I'm breaking inside. Marcus felt Lily's hand slip into his. She was reading over his shoulder. He continued, his voice soft. March 15th, 1982. We move out next week. I've been walking through each room, saying goodbye. I put my hand on the walls and thanked them for holding us. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear the house understands. It's been a good home to us. It deserves to be loved again. March 20th, 1982. Last day. I wrote a letter to whoever comes next. I hid it in the living room wall behind the loose baseboard. If someone finds it during renovations, maybe it will help them. Maybe they'll need to know what I learned. That home is not a place you're chained to, but a feeling you carry forward. I also hid this chest in the attic. I know I should take these memories with me, but somehow I want to leave a piece of us here. This house held our story. Let it keep some of the evidence. Let whoever finds it know that happiness lived here once, that love was real here, that this house deserves to be loved again. Marcus closed the journal, his vision blurred. Eleanor hadn't just left a letter. She'd left her heart, deliberately, as a gift to strangers she'd never meet. She wanted us to find it, Lily whispered. I think so. But why hide it? Why not take it with her? Marcus thought about that, about what it meant to deliberately leave pieces of yourself behind, about trust, about faith that your story mattered, even to people who came after. I think, he said slowly, she wanted to prove something. To herself, maybe, that she could let go and still be okay, that her story didn't end just because the chapter in this house ended. She was setting herself free. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Dad, can we do something? What's that, honey? Can we fix up this house really nice? And then, before we ever leave, even if that's a really long time, from now, can we hide something too? For the next family? Marcus pulled her close, his heart so full it hurt. That's the best idea I've ever heard. Over the following months, the house transformed, and so did they. Marcus and Lily worked together every weekend. They pulled up old carpet and refinished the hardwood, floors beneath. They painted walls, repaired windows, fixed a sagging porch. Marcus taught Lily how to use tools, and she taught him how to see beauty in the process, not just a result. They kept Eleanor's things in a special place, the chest in the living room, where they could look through it whenever they wanted. The photographs went into frames on the mantel, Lucy's name carved. Into the floorboard became a feature, not a flaw, preserved under a sheet of glass Marcus installed. Lily wrote letters of her own, inspired by Eleanor. She wrote about starting at a new school, about missing her mom but learning that it was okay to have two homes now, about how broken things could become beautiful. One evening, as they sat on the newly repaired porch watching the sunset, Lily asked, "Dad, do you think Eleanor is still alive?" Marcus had wondered the same thing. The math was possible. If Eleanor had been 30 in 1982, she'd be in her early 70s now. "Maybe," he said. "Why?" "I want to thank her. Her letter helped me understand something." "What's that?" Lily looked at him with those wise, two old eyes that children of divorce sometimes develop. That it's okay when things change. That we can be sad about what we lost and still be excited about what we're building. Both things can be true. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. His daughter, his teacher. "Yes, sweetheart. Both things can be true." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Eleanor Morrison, about the gift she'd given them. On impulse, he got up and opened his laptop. He started searching. Eleanor Rose Morrison, James Morrison, the town they'd lived in. It took 2 hours, but he found her. An obituary from 2019. Eleanor Rose Morrison, age 77, passed peacefully, survived by her children Lucy, Morrison Chin and Daniel Morrison, for grandchildren, beloved wife of James Morrison, who preceded her in death in 2003. The obituary mentioned her love of gardening, her volunteer work at the library, her gift for letter writing. Friends and family remembered her as someone who found joy in small things, who believed in the power of kindness to strangers. There was a photo, an elderly woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, her gray hair pulled back, standing in a garden. Marcus stared at the picture for a long time. Eleanor had lived 37 more years after leaving this house. She'd seen her children grow up, had met her grandchildren, had built a life beyond these walls. She'd been right. The story hadn't ended. It had just changed chapters. In the morning, Marcus told Lily what he'd found. She was quiet for a moment, processing. "I'm glad she had a good life," Lily finally said. "I'm glad she was happy." "Me too. Can we still thank her?" "How will we do that?" Lily thought for a moment, then brightened. "We could write her a letter back and hide it in the house, so her story and our story are together." Marcus smiled. "I love that." They spent that afternoon crafting their response. Lily did most of the writing, with Marcus helping with the spelling. When they were done, it read, "Dear Eleanor, my name is Lily and I'm 7 years old. My dad and I found your letter in the wall. It helped us a lot. We were sad because my parents got divorced and we had to move to your house. Everything felt broken, but your letter made me understand that broken doesn't mean ended. It just means changing into something new. You were right about houses holding stories. I can feel all the happy times that happened here. I can feel you loving this place. My dad and I are making our own story now. We're fixing the house together. We found your treasure. Chest in the attic, too. Thank you for leaving it. Thank you for trusting that whoever found it would understand. You don't know us, but you helped us anyway. That's really special. I hope you had a beautiful life after you left this house. I think you did. I can tell you were a person who made beautiful things wherever you went. Thank you for teaching me that home is what you build, not where you are. Love, Lily. P.S. From Marcus, Lily's dad, Eleanor. Your letter arrived at the exact moment we needed it most. You couldn't have known, writing it 43 years ago, that a broken-hearted man and his daughter would find it and be changed by it. But somehow, across all that time, your kindness found its target. You taught us that our pain has purpose, that our struggles become the wisdom we pass forward. Thank you for being brave enough to leave pieces of yourself behind. We're honoring your legacy by doing the same. This house continues to hold love. They found a new tin box in an antique shop, carefully placed a letter inside along with a photograph of the two of them on the porch, and hid it in a different wall, the one in Lily's room, behind where her bed stood. Whoever finds this might be another kid. Lily said as Marcus sealed up the wall. Maybe they'll need to hear that everything's going to be okay. Maybe they will. Spring arrived, and with it, completion. The house was no longer a disaster. The roof was new. The kitchen gleamed with updated appliances Marcus had found secondhand and refurbished. The porch was solid, painted white, with new railing. The yard was cleaned up, ready for a garden. Marcus stood in the driveway one Saturday morning, looking at the transformation. It was remarkable what a few months and a lot of hard work could accomplish. But the real transformation wasn't the house. It was them. Lily ran up beside him, breathless from playing with Sophie, who'd come over for a playdate. Dad, can we show Sophie the attic? Can we show her Eleanor's chest? Sure, honey. The girls ran inside, giggling, and Marcus heard their footsteps thundering up the stairs. He smiled. The house was full of life again, full of laughter. Eleanor would have loved that. His phone buzzed. A text from his ex-wife. Lily sounds so happy when we talk now. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Thank you. Marcus stared at the message. For months, he and his ex had barely spoken beyond the necessary logistics of co-parenting. But this was an olive branch, an acknowledgement. He typed back, "We're building something new. Turns out we both needed it." Her response came quickly, "I'm glad. She deserves to be happy." So, do you? Marcus pocketed his phone, feeling a weight lift. Maybe that was another lesson from Eleanor, that you could acknowledge the pain of an ending and still wish each other well. That sometimes love changed, formed but didn't have to become hate. That evening, after Sophie went home, Marcus and Lily sat on the porch again. It had become their ritual, this time together as the day faded. "Dad," Lily said. "Yeah, I don't miss our old house anymore. Is that okay?" Marcus wrapped his arm around her. "That's more than okay. That's healthy. This feels like home now. It is home. Do you think we'll stay forever?" Marcus thought about Eleanor's letter, about the chest hidden in the attic, about the letter they'd hidden in Lily's wall, about stories that continue beyond single chapters.